going on, everybody? Happy Bachelor recap. Oh, wait, what is it? What fucking episode?
Women Tell All.
Women Tell All episode. Great episode for you today. Lauren Zima, lover of Chris
Roses
Harrison,
and Rosé,
joins us. Always fun to have Lauren here. She has been covering The Bachelor for some time. Very funny, very articulate person. The opposite of that. Joins us, and we have some great discussions about obviously our new Bachelorette, Claire, which we'll get into. We get more into Madison and Peter's conversation about sex and ultimatums.
You asked Lauren a couple tough questions too. I appreciated that.
Thanks. I don't even remember what they were.
Turn the tables on her.
Fuck yeah, I did. So it's a great episode. I think you'll enjoy it. We'll get right to it. Just want to say, for those of you listening, obviously, we appreciate our big Bachelor audience. But just remember, we are in our 101st episode, this is, which means we have 100 more before, many of which are not recap related, that some of our diehard fans really appreciate. We do our Ask Nick episodes on Monday. Relationship and dating, people call in, share their stories. We give advice. It's very relatable stories. People learn a lot. I learn a lot. Rochelle learns a lot. It's a lot of fun. And we have some great interviews on Wednesdays. So make sure to check those out. We would appreciate it. We have a great episode on Wednesday tomorrow. The Lady Gang joins us, the fun group. And yeah, we just get into it. So you're not going to want to miss that. And one other thing, we've been struggling with identifying names of who our listeners are.
Oh no!
Someone called in. I'm not called in. They didn't call in. They comment on Instagram, and I don't know what you people think listening, but someone suggested we should say the Viall High Club, which is kind of catchy. It's catchy. So I don't know what they would call themselves, but we can be part of the. Hey, are you part of the Viall High Club? No. What do you think, Rochelle?
I thought we were Wi-Fi's. I feel like we just need to decide.
You could be Wi-Fi's part of the Viall High Club. Okay. No?
Yeah.
I feel like, it's not up to me, really.
Yeah.
But just throwing it out there. It's a suggestion. Anyways, whatever. So yeah, make sure to check out all our other episodes. Thanks for listening. And without further ado, the talented and funny Lauren Zima.
So funny.
Warby Parker. Wow, Rochelle, you are looking hot in your Warby. It's like sexy and
smart,
sophisticated. And
plus, it's blue light blocking,
That's right. And I'll tell you what do we do most of our times? I'm embarrassed to say I spent 10 hours on average on my phone this week. I use it for work. It's embarrassing.
I cannot believe that is true.
Anyways, it's embarrassing. I don't want to have to fucking defend myself, but it's true. Okay. But it's the light that comes and radiates from our phones and our computers is not great for our eyes.
Yeah. So I got it. You can add it on to your glasses. So that's what I did with these. And then they just made everything really easy. So you can get the home try-ons and you can see what sizes and when you're ordering, and then you send it back. Also, they have real brick and mortar stores you can go into.
Listen, I don't need to wear glasses because
your fake ones are Warby
perfect
Parker?
eyes. Yeah, I have some Warby Parker. I just went. They have a store
in Venice. Yeah.
And so
I
just thought they looked good on my face.
I just have to say, because I'm like a glasses freak, I'm obsessed with glasses. Like the quality of Warby Parker for the price, you cannot beat it. You can't.
And also Warby Parker, it's just like a cool name.
The glasses start at $95, including prescription lenses. And they have sunglasses, progressives, and blue light lenses available.
Anyways, try Warby Parker's free home try-on program. Order 5 pairs of glasses to try at home for free for 5 days. There's no obligation to buy. Shipping is free and includes a prepaid return shipping label. That is ease, people. Try 5 pairs of glasses at home for free at warbyparker.com/VIALL. That's warbyparker.com/VIALL. Hunter Killer! People, you need to get on the Hunter Killer game. I know that you're not doing that many interesting things on dates and game nights with your friends. And we have people calling in all the time like, I need to do something new and exciting with my boyfriend or girlfriend or my fiance or husband. Well, fuck, man. Hunter Killer is super interesting, super fun. It's not just like you get to really think and ask questions, and it can lead to different debates and discussions, and you can feel like you're accomplishing something with someone.
So it's an actual box that they send you in the mail every month with real clues, real papers and documents that help you figure out and hunt that killer. Mm-hmm. It's a good gift for people who love, murder podcasts, watching.
Which is basically everybody. So it's a great gift for everybody. Right now, just for our listeners, you can go to huntokiller.com/VIALL and use promo code VIALL at checkout for 20% off your first box. Head to huntokiller.com/VIALL for 20% off and to show support for our podcast. How nice. huntokiller.com/VIALL. Well, Claire is our Bachelorette. Lauren, Zima, thanks for coming.
Nick, Viall, thank you for having me. What a banner day for me to be here.
Yeah,
Good
this
Lord.
really worked out well.
We got our new Bachelorette. We got to talk tell-all. This is some good stuff.
Yeah, and you were at the tell-all.
Yes, sir, I was.
So...
Can I tell you what I do with those tell-alls? And I'm not joking. I bring Advil and I pass it out like party favors to the press. It is so much yelling and so much yelling. I truly get a headache after. So I medicate. You must.
Well, we'll get to the tell-all, but I think we need to discuss Claire being the new Bachelorette. I think
Claire Bear.
Excellent casting by ABC and Warner Brothers, and on so many levels. It was a great choice.
I am 100% behind this. I will reveal who my top two hopefuls were.
For Bachelorette.
Yes.
Okay.
I mean, we'd heard chatter about several people. I know, and Chris Harrison told me in interviews that, I know, it's so weird to just say, but I really am. I'm citing my source here. He said that this was the biggest debate they'd had in years and years, that they went back and forth so much that they brought in so many people.
Yeah, I heard they brought in a ton.
Right? Yeah. And I think as fans, you can see why. I don't think there were clear front-runner choices from Peter's season. No one was really rooting and rallying for anybody. We also don't know how it ends, but it didn't seem obvious to me because there was so much fan criticism of how dramatic the women were, if they were ready for marriage. But all that being said, I was really, really in when I started hearing potentially Tia. I think a lot of people were rooting for Tia.
You wanted Tia?
I was a fan of Tia, and I was also a huge fan of Claire, and I'm really happy with this.
Yeah, let's look at some of the other choices. Tia, I mean, I've never met Tia in person. I've heard she's a lovely person. Honestly, I love all of my listeners from the South, but I just need a break from the y'alls.
Okay.
And I just like your
we're
your
coming
God
off
bless,
Hannah Brown, Hannah Ann, Madison.
I need a fucking break from pageants, and I
don't think Tia was in the pageants.
Maybe she wasn't in the pageant, but she had her her condescending kind of God blesses, God.
Okay.
Tia. I don't want to hear this kind of forced.
So for you, it's purely a verbiage thing.
I just need a break. And I love you guys. I love a Southern twang. I love a y'all. I do.
And I think
I need a break.
There are always pros and cons, right? I totally see what you're saying because I think it's just like how statistically it shows something like when we've had a Republican president for 2 years, it swings, Okay, maybe we needed a swing away from the South.
We need to go to this pendulum. We'll go back to you, I'm sure. I have no doubt.
Maybe.
And what's Tia's storyline?
Well, here's what I liked about
a forced relationship with Colton?
Here's what I liked about Tia. We were coming off of frustration with younger women. Tia's in her late 20s.
Okay.
I liked that Tia's last relationship was outside of the franchise.
Me too. It seemed real.
Yeah, I think she was moving to Nashville for that guy, ready to do that. I just felt if we're coming off a season of people being frustrated that the contestants allegedly weren't really there for love. When I interviewed Rob Mills, he kind of for the first time acknowledged, look, we got to be careful about people coming on the show for the Instagram thing. I'd never heard him say that in an interview before. So I think she was not somebody who'd been moving to LA just to be part of the Instagram world and all that.
She still has a regular job.
Okay, calm. She's moving to Nashville it's the Instagram hub of the South.
I think she'd been living a small town life and she just wanted to see a big city. I do think that.
I think Tia is wonderful as a person. Keep in mind, we're not talking about them as people. I've never met her in person. I've heard nice things, but I do get email solicitations from her, and I know it's not Tia doing it, but her it's funny. I get these emails for like buy Tia's presets. Like
Really?
I'm just saying, like, and
Well,
there's nothing-
everybody's got
Listen,
some element,
no
of course.
criticism. I'm just saying, let's not pretend that Tia is somehow out of this influencer world.
No, I don't think she is. But I will say, I just appreciated that she dated somebody outside of the world. I think she really is looking for love in her life. And I also think it's impossible to avoid the Instagram thing. Even as much as I think Claire's above it. I mean, Claire has kept posting on Instagram. It's not as though she doesn't have an account.
Claire's not going to be above it. I can't wait to see her FabFitFun ads. You know, like I'm just saying, like that's
Right.
But
Well, what I like talking to you about it, why I like discussing with you is I think you and I both look at it as, because a lot of people will tell me, well, who do you like? And I always say, it's not about that. It's about who you think is going to be a good television show.
Totally. And Claire is going to be awesome. And again, let's look at some, like Tayshia was, a lot of people were clamoring for Tayshia. Wonderful human being. Beautiful, sweet, genuine, and nice, and way too measured to be the Bachelorette. I mean, if you want to be in bed by 8:30, pick Tayshia. I mean, like, when you watched her seasons, it was always like this very thought out. Like, she couldn't decide between John Paul Jones and Derek. Now imagine like 30 dudes and constantly being worried about what people think. And I get it. Like,
well,
she's just too measured.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I will say, I look back at Tayshia on Colton's season. I also think, like, do I remember moments, you know? And I think Tayshia is so kind, so lovely.
Wonderful.
But yeah, I don't remember significant moments with her from her in Colton's season. And so I think, well, if the TV wasn't popping then, look, and at the end of the day, I trust these producers. They've been making the show for almost 2 decades, and they've given us unbelievable seasons in the past couple years. And I do think, well, on Colton's season, they could have picked Tayshia then, but they picked Hannah. So that's interesting to me too.
Yeah, I honestly think this is an excellent cast. And then there were reports about, they offered it to Hannah, but she turned it down for money, which who knows? I mean, that's probably true. But I think this is a great, like, again.
Does Lauren know?
Well, you know what? No, you know what I wondered for Hannah too was, I think Hannah's season was unbelievable television, and it was a perfect storm of so many things.
Can't replicate that.
Oh my God, Luke's storyline was, so him and her were so fire and ice, and yet so attracted to each other. Jed completely hid a girlfriend. Tyler Cameron was a legitimate model. Peter Weber was the boy next door with a good job. Mike Johnson was this beloved guy. Everything she had to say, the cast was incredible. It was a perfect storm. She's now been on our TVs on Dancing with the Stars and on Peter's season. And then she would come back again. I did wonder, like, just for Hannah's sake, I felt, will people turn? Will they just compare it to her season and be like, I'm sick of her on my TV? And that's not fair to her.
Not even, but like, there's no, like, she's at the top. And in Bachelor world, there's only one place to go. And again, this isn't a criticism to Hannah. Like, look at Claire. Like, people have criticized Claire over the past because she's dramatic and people have called her crazy. And you know what? Maybe she is all those things. She's also just human, you know? Mm-hmm. Hannah Brown could have gotten the Claire edit for all these years. They could have thrown a raccoon in there and had her pretend to talk to her. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's not a criticism of Hannah.
Do we need to say for the people that it's quite obvious that Claire was speaking to a producer and it was edited to be a raccoon? Do we need to say that?
But like,
we all know that, right?
Like Hannah Brown and Claire are similar in the sense, and that's why they like their bachelorettes, is to be willing to emote and be raw and authentic and speak their minds. And depending on what music they want to play in that moment, like, you can either look crazy or empowered, you know? And Hannah had the benefit, and I've said this over and over, of Luke P. And I hope, for Claire's sake, I hope they cast a couple of absolute assholes
that she can really shut down.
Yes.
Claire's ready.
Yeah.
Yes.
Was that true that they offered it to Hannah, though?
I don't know. I don't know the specific. I mean, but I will say, I think that from what Chris told me in that interview, there were a bunch of names tossed around. I think they met with a ton of people. I think they really were exploring all options here. And I think they were listening to fans who were saying, like Chris always says, you have to be careful. Sometimes the Twitterverse can feel loud and it doesn't represent everybody at home. Right. But I do think they were hearing from people, look, some of these women on Peter's season were really, really young. And that doesn't mean you can't be mature at a young age. I should say, we're really potentially inexperienced, or are they really ready for marriage, and are they really there for anything more than an Instagram following? So I think they were just hearing that. And look, Claire's going to get criticism for the fact that she's a single 38-year-old woman. You already see people saying, well, she's been on the show 4 times already, and so she's had her chance. And you know what? I think she's great TV, and I think that I'm excited to see a woman date some younger guys.
Yes.
Totally. It'll be a lot of fun. And I think it was, listen, I think the show is doing a lot of smart things. I think it was great that they went so young for a couple of seasons. They got a new audience. They got a lot of new people watching it. And they're still going to watch Claire, right? It's still going to be great TV, but you got the younger audience in. And now you're going to bring back some of these OG fans that like got a little frustrated with trying to relate to this younger audience, right? And it will go away a little bit from this influencer mentality. Not entirely. It's never going to cease, but it's going to seem a little more real. The reality is the average person is getting married later in life. That's our society is doing that. So instead of we're now going towards reality, and I think the shows are going to like bring it feels almost like going to be a fresh new show a little bit. Like we don't know necessarily what to expect. They're kind of resetting, and I think it's going to seem a little more real.
Yeah. Well, and I love that it does always reflect, hopefully to some extent, the way relationships are now, how things are changing. And they have to just be honest about the Instagram culture because it's part of everything. But I am interested, like, look, here's what I think is kind of hard too, is in different areas of our country, and there's different sects of people and types of people watching this show. Look, I went to school in Missouri. There are a lot of people who still get married in their early 20s there. So to some extent, this is real. And that's why I say I don't want to say that just because you're 23 doesn't mean you're not ready for marriage. That's not the case. To me, it's about maturity, life experience, and how you see your life going. But you know what else is real? As you just said, people getting married later in life. And you know what else is real? Again, I would like to see a woman date some younger men. I'm excited to see some older guys here, switch that up. And maybe that'll mean for a really interesting Bachelor in Paradise too. I would love to see 38-year-old Claire maybe date like a 28-year-old dude, and let's see what happens.
Oh, hell yeah.
No, totally. And that's the thing is like we really haven't seen this before, and that's what makes it fun and exciting. And again, to your point, of course 23-year-olds get married, you know? Like we get this all the time with The Bachelor and their and their casting.
It's
they just never have gone this. And The Bachelor implies is that like once, especially if you're the Bachelorette, once you're like over 32, you're ineligible to find love.
Right.
So, you know, it's nice that they are willing to give Claire a shot at a lead role. And she has all the qualities of a great Bachelorette.
Well, and it kind of goes back to what the show originally was when it first went on TV, was this idea of you haven't been able to find love, and now here you really are. You know, that's one thing I've thought the past couple of years, not even just Peter, but I mean, like gorgeous Joelle Fletcher, who was, I think, 24, 25 when she went on or whatever. You've not yet had the struggles of not finding love. You're here because you're interested to find it, but you haven't spent years struggling and it just hasn't worked out with some of these people, you know?
JoJo, I mean, she was young, but she had been in some relationships and had some experience. But you're right, overall, you're right. I mean, a lot of these, you hear, like, Cassie went from living in her sister's room to dating Colton.
Right.
Half these women are still living with their parents. And it's just, that's fine. But you haven't really had a lot of ups and downs. You haven't had the Brad breakups. You know, I want to hear these sob stories, not about like, you know, what happened when you were like 6 or 12. And yeah, those are sad stories, but I want to hear about you. Like when I was 28, this shit happened to me. Like, you know, we do on our Ask Nick episodes, like these real life situations and trials and tribulations with relationships. That's dating out there today.
What we've gotten into more now, I think, is I was really noticing it watching Peter's season when he was talking to some of the women about their trauma in their upbringing is, like, I don't know, your significant other can help you with some of that stuff, but they're not a therapist. Yeah. And I think in your relationships, it's a lot easier to work out issues from past relationships than, you know, deep issues from your childhood. Like, you got to figure that stuff out on your own in order to come healthy into a relationship. You know, 27-year-old Peter is not here to explain to you how your, you know, bullying or whatever it is as a kid could affect you now. He's not equipped for that. So I'm interested to see that. And Nick, I have a very significant question for you.
Shoot.
Do you just want to jump on the season?
You know? You never know.
I knew he wouldn't love that. But Nick, how come you and Claire never dated? Were you ever on a season of anything together?
I wasn't. Yeah, I've met Claire a few times.
She's gorgeous.
Wonderful person. Total babe.
Total babe. Okay. Shipping it. Jump in, Nick.
You know, who knows? Who knows?
Uh-oh.
Never know. But yeah, I think it's fantastic. I'm really happy for Claire, and I think it was really smart of ABC and Warner Brothers to do this. We can always go, and we'll go back young again, right? But you're gonna get 3 or 4 guys who don't even know what Instagram, how it works. You know what I'm saying? Like you are, and you're gonna get some younger guys, but you're gonna get less guys. And even, Hannah Brown's guys were like this, and that's nothing wrong with them. That's just the time we live in. These people are growing up with like these channels and playbooks, and you're going to get legit guys who are working professionals, and that will be kind of like you said, kind of going back to how it all started with incorporating the new. It's like you're meshing the old and the new.
Oh, we love a meshing.
Yeah,
and we're trying something new, and the show's the gift that keeps on giving. Why not try something?
And then,
new?
like you said, it's gonna add an interesting wrinkle for Paradise. It's gonna be it's gonna be like Raya, a bunch of old guys and young girls, just out there.
I love it.
It's gonna be right. Imagine
is
all
that
these...
what Raya's like? I've never been on.
Yeah, is that
maybe
what
for you?
A little bit, but no, it's gonna be. Yeah, it really opens the door for me in Paradise. No, I'm just kidding. But yeah, it's gonna be a little older, and
they'll have real jobs, maybe the guys.
Well, and as you said, I think we go back to Claire is good TV. I mean, we've had moments with her. She shut down Juan Pablo. We've seen her get emotional and break down and cry. We've seen her hilariously ream out a raccoon. She's given us a lot of different elements. She's been in love triangles before on Winter Games. She got engaged to Benoit. And I really do think those two really tried to make it work. I interviewed them at the Winter Games tell-all right after he proposed. And I saw them backstage, like FaceTiming her mom. I mean, she was overjoyed in that moment.
You can't question Claire's sincerity.
No.
Right? You can question her judgment, but you can question all of our judgment. We all have bad pickers. And like I said, this is not a criticism towards Hannah Brown, but like the reasons we love Hannah Brown are the same reasons we've criticized Claire in the past. It's just a matter of perspective, and it's just a matter of characters, like you said, in terms of who they were going against.
Facing
I really hope, like, Claire needs a couple of total assholes, because that's the thing. Like, they're gonna drive Claire crazy. Like the pressure of being the lead is gonna drive her crazy, and we'll see her go crazy, like everyone else. And Claire, but we want it to be justified. We want to see that. We don't want to see her talking to raccoons. That was fun, but now we want to see. Like I want to see her growth, her maturity now that she's older and more polished and wise and knows what she doesn't want and what she wants. But she's still going to be Claire.
Yeah. Was there anybody else you were pulling for?
Honestly, I really wasn't. That was the thing. And I didn't think about Claire. It wasn't on my radar. And then I started hearing the rumors and I was like, you know what? Fuck yeah. That's a great idea.
You want a Demi.
The only person I thought of was Demi, but like she's a Fred and I think she's great TV. But Mina was on and she kind of said, Demi's also in a relationship now, but also like I don't know if Demi's necessarily ready to get engaged in the next 6 months. And that might have been I do think Claire's a better cast than Demi. Claire wasn't on my radar. I wasn't even thinking about it.
No, same. And I love it.
I didn't think they were going to go far back. I mean, I think Amanda Stanton could have been an option. Similar to like what is Amanda Stanton kind of has a nice little resume and a story of unlucky in love. But again, I didn't even consider Amanda until they considered Claire, and I would have picked Claire over Amanda.
I love being surprised, and I love that this doesn't feel like the Ari throwback moment of the who, what, why. This feels like a throwback of, I do remember her from Winter Games. I do remember these famous moments she had with Juan Pablo, with the raccoon. And, again, when I'm going back and looking at, I sat down with her before Winter Games started filming. And I went back and watched my interview. It was from early 2018. And she was saying very similar things to what she said on Good Morning America for the announcement. She was saying, like, I don't think there's anything wrong with being single. I've enjoyed being single,
God bless.
And I haven't settled for anything.
Yeah.
And so here we are, Claire. Let's go, Claire.
Well, we're excited. We'll be supporting Claire throughout, unless she fucks up. No,
Claire Bear 2020.
I'm really, really happy for her, and I think it's going to be a really exciting season. And if you are frustrated at this casting and you're listening, I think you should go listen to us.
Yes,
we're right. Have an open mind.
Send us all your tweets
and enjoy it. And again, like just because they didn't pick, Tayshia or Tia doesn't mean they're not great people.
Well, you know what I love about this too is, I was sitting here saying I like Tia. Now I don't know. Maybe in 2-3 years we get Tia. Anything can happen.
You never know.
Anything can happen.
I just, Tia to me would have been kind of more in the same, just a slightly older version, But Claire is a totally different shift in what we've seen in the past few seasons.
Here we go.
There we go. Well, let's transition to the episode. We start this episode obviously with the rose ceremony. Do you want to, before we even get started on that, do you want to speak your piece on the accusations that you spoiled this season?
Oh my goodness. I know. It's all about inflection, isn't it? And I actually I interviewed, so if anybody missed it, I sent out a tweet where I've been kind of critiquing Peter all season long playfully because he makes these big sweeping statements, right? You guys have heard them. You've talked about them. He says, Hannah Ann is the most perfect woman. I never want to let go of Madison. And I'm like, okay, how are you making a 100% statement like that? And that's not just the person then and there for you.
He's the perfect bachelor. What do you think of Peter as the bachelor?
I think that Peter is such a lovely human being with such a good heart, and he's gotten so emotional, and you see the emotion. I keep calling him sad Peter. The faces he's making. Sure. I do think that Peter struggled with indecisiveness, and I think, you know what? I'm really going to get analytical for a second here, and I would say this to Peter. I've wondered if, because Peter is so close with his family, I've wondered if Peter struggled making decisions out here on his own in the Bachelor world.
I totally agree.
No. I think he probably goes back to mom and dad for a lot. And he struggled with that here. And we've seen that. And I think that he's also a caretaker. And so he's kept around really problematic relationships because he thinks that fixing things is good. And we all grow up hearing relationships are hard, right? But that doesn't mean they should always be hard. It just means they can be. And I don't know if he knows that distinction yet.
Totally. I love Peter. I've been very defensive of Peter. We've had him on the show. He's not without criticism.
Right.
But there's no arguing that if you live with your parents at 28, you haven't literally been out of the nest, and you're going to lack certain experiences and troubled and just problems and conflict resolution that you might have to do on your own. Mm-hmm. That's just a fact.
Right.
Not a criticism.
I can't remember. Did you ever say, because look, I know it's hard for the lead because you have to assure people and you have to try to convey your feelings without.
Sure.
So did you ever say stuff along that line? I can't remember from your season.
I would say one of the biggest differences between Peter and me as the Bachelor is Peter is just like drinking the Bachelor. He's fully immersed himself in this role and a true believer. And I immersed myself in the role, but I had a level of consciousness outside of that world. And Peter had his heart broken by Hannah. So there's no, he certainly can relate to that. And that was real. I was just so self-conscious about my experiences being a runner-up twice and what I felt. And that heartbreak in those moments was real. So I was very careful. And again, it seems like Peter is truly struggling with his choices. I wasn't struggling with my choices, especially towards the end. You were a little more,
and you were measured in what you were saying.
I was measured. So everything I said to Raven and Rachel was very thought out and very careful. Now, I certainly said some things that led them on, like with Raven, I was like, so what ring would you like? That was a total line and totally planned it to just make sure that she still thought she might. And that was a dick move as the Bachelor, but you kind of have to do. But there were so many other things I just didn't say that I didn't want her to really think of, because there were things that Andy and Caitlin said to me, even off camera, that was why did you fucking say that to me? Why?
Like what?
Just stuff.
Yeah,
I love you and I'm going to pick you. Stuff like that.
Really?
Yeah.
You were being told you were going to be chosen?
Caitlin, yeah.
She said, I'm going to pick
off
you?
Off camera, yeah. She was talking about what her friends were going to say when the show's over.
Did you ever talk to her about that again? That does
a little bit,
painful.
yeah. Listen, it's fine, but Caitlin was. It's hard. It's so hard being the Bachelorette and the Bachelor, and it's you can criticize them, but everyone has their own experience, but yes, Andy never told me I was it, but she said other things I was like, oh, I could have done without that,
You know what? Sometimes it's better to say nothing at all.
Grubhub. I'll tell you what. I'm a hard worker. I'm also super lazy sometimes.
I'm so lazy.
And there is nothing better than what do I want to eat? I don't know what I want to eat. What should I eat? And and because, I'm single and I'm a single serving guy, I go to the grocery store often. Like I don't buy groceries for the week.
I know.
And then I get lazy and I don't want to get in the car and go to the grocery store. You know what I do? I just Grubhub that shit.
Yeah. Grubhub is great because
by shit I mean delicious food.
they a lot of time they're going to offer you discounts and like even free food just for using the app. I was at a game night the other night and everyone's like, we should have pizza, and I was like, I got it, and I was the hero. And
you're a hero.
Yeah.
They delivered me donuts on Valentine's Day. Grubhub did. It was delicious.
And they have so many different restaurants on there, and it's just a good app.
So, yeah, Grubhub people, be heroes. Just for our listeners, if you download the Grubhub app and enter promo code VIALL, you'll get $10 off any new dinner that's $15 or more for new diners. That's promo code VIALL for $10 off any order of $15 or more for new diners. So download the Grubhub app today and use promo code VIALL to enjoy the restaurants you love delivered and be a hero. But yeah, Peter is just full on like, fuck it, I'm the Bachelor and this is how I feel in this moment. He has a very Caitlyn approach. Caitlyn was very in the moment.
And it's on camera, and I see him. You're right. It's in the moment. I mean, he says to Hannah Ann, I forget when, but I think he said to her at one point, "You have nothing to worry about." And I'm like,
totally,
what?
Right? I'm like, what the fuck? She
like,
doesn't.
What do you mean?
Even Victoria,
What do you
she's like,
mean?
I have a wall up. He's like, no need for that.
Right.
Yeah.
So and it's these absolutes.
Insane.
So I've been, kind of teasing him about it all season long because it's so extreme. I call them, I'm like, it's a big plane. That's a 747 statement, Peter. Geez, And so
You have nothing to worry about. And then fast forward to Madison, and he's just like holding her, saying, "I'll never
let go.
Yeah.
I never. And okay, but are you going to let go? You have like 2 other dates to get to. So I don't know. So it's insane to me. So I've been teasing him, and then I tweeted, how do you not pick Hannah Ann then after you just called her the most perfect woman in the world? So I meant literally, like, why don't you pull a Colton? You walk away then and there. I even said it to him at the tell-all. I interviewed him and I said, hey, Peter, you keep making these statements. How do you not just pick Hannah Ann? And so that's what I meant. But people read it as like he doesn't pick Hannah Ann at the end of filming.
Well, you deleted it too. And
that
was kind of...
And you know what that was?
That makes it seem like you're trying to hide something.
I know. And that was my comedic ego, because truly I was looking at it and I was like, I could write something funnier. It's not, I'm like, my linguistics could be better and I want it to be better. So I'm like, I'll just delete it and rewrite it real quick. And so I tweeted a similar joke, but like different, but then people took it differently. I think people are so hungry this season because it's the first unspoiled season in a while. Like I interviewed Chris the other day and he said, well, at this point we got like 3-4 women left. And everyone was like, 4 women? Who were I mean, he meant, I don't know. I think, he's like, we got 3-4. What? Oh, we're going to see. I don't know.
So,
we're going to see.
So Peter sends home Victoria F.
Were you surprised?
No. I mean, everyone's kind of expecting that. You were surprised. I mean, the only surprise was Madison going to go home or not? But they obviously like overplayed that and made it seem like, she was always going to show up. They show Peter standing by himself and it almost looks like he's about to walk over to Victoria F and Hannah Ann. But like he was just like standing in a spot for an hour while they shot B-roll. No, I wasn't really surprised. I mean, like his connection with Madison seems second to none, and even I'm still saying Hannah Ann's gonna win.
Okay.
I mean, like Peter, the way he talks about Victoria in the moment, I believe him. But like, yes, we've seen the struggle, and we've talked about how like we can appreciate it. Certainly, I can why Peter's kept Victoria F around, because like that was me in my 20s and like trying to fix every like toxic relationship I had.
Right.
But at the end of the day, like he still had these other women he had strong connections with. So I wasn't shocked.
I think I wasn't either. And I think that, we've criticized him for his indecisiveness and for the stuff with Victoria F, but okay, he finally did it. Now, what do you think of people saying, oh, but he held on to fantasies until fantasy suites are over?
I mean, whatever. Like,
it's hard.
I think that's just a fun snark we like to say. It also might be true, and also like, and that's a nice transition to the whole Madison waiting for sex and I know you got some criticism too.
Yes.
Like, listen, what Madison did was 100% an ultimatum, and I 100% am fine with that.
Same. That's my thing. I think people keep thinking that an ultimatum is inherently negative, and it's just by definition not. It's just saying, if you do this, this will happen. If you don't do this, this won't happen, whatever. That's all it is. And I support being very clear in a relationship. And my issue with Madison was, look, and again, people take it so personally. You're slamming her, you're throwing her under the bus. No, I don't even know her. And she's seemingly been very unproblematic to all the other women. I'm sure she's really lovely. I'm excited to meet her and interview her, but I'm going to criticize everybody when I call it like I see it. I think that she's
gained a small Auburn army, and
they're loud, yes,
buy some followers.
I think that it was interesting to me that she accepted the fantasy sweet rose and then she was going to tell Peter this stuff. I think she should have been upfront with him about a lot more, probably a lot sooner.
I'm very defensive of Madison for that criticism.
For the timing?
People
tell me.
Well, you may or may not know this from your lover. I just love saying that to you. But when it comes to timing on that show, for so many reasons, the cast have very little say. Timing in which they decide to actually say something, it's very structured. And certainly the timing in which things are aired is often out of... I'm not saying that didn't happen when it happened. I'm simply saying...
You're questioning.
When it comes to timing...
Okay.
Producers are very influential.
Okay.
And
I hear you. You have more experience being on
and
the
I
show
also I don't even care, because unless Peter's not an idiot, it was pretty fucking clear what Madison was saying. And you know what? Vanessa wasn't a virgin. She wasn't saving herself. She didn't give me an ultimatum, but I understood pretty clear that Vanessa didn't want me to have sex with anyone else, and the consequences that might happen if I did. And she didn't have to pull me aside. It was pretty clear. So, you know what I'm saying? This whole idea, well, had she told Peter, then Peter might make different decisions. I don't think so. It was pretty clear that Peter was going to do what Peter was going to do.
She said, and I quote, "Actions speak louder than words." Yeah. And then he took action.
and Madison did what we've all done in relationships: is I don't want to tell you what to do. I want you to do it. I want you to want to do the dishes. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I mean, look, there's a lot of gray area here. I think also what's complicated on Peter's end is he's sitting here saying, but you, from what we've seen, she hadn't said I love you to him. She hadn't told him that. I also think the sex part of it is interesting, because part of me wonders, well, for anybody, man, woman, whoever you are on this show, do you ever feel like, look, maybe I'm going to walk away if you've said I love you to anyone else? I don't know, the emotional pain versus a sexual betrayal, you know?
We've all done that. And like I said, and I did this kind of online rant, is that I get it, viewers, I understand you've been watching the show and you know these rules, but for the people who go on the show, they don't know what they signed up for. It is an insane experience. And the truth is, for all the criticism we talk about people in terms of whether they're genuine in their feelings or whether they're for Instagram followers, if you are someone who goes on the show, and not everyone who goes has the same experience, but if you truly have real feelings and fall in love, then you don't give a shit about the show anymore. You're trying to have a real experience, and you're trying to say, well, I'm considering getting engaged to this person I barely know in 9 weeks, and if I do, I'm going to be engaged in a real world and maybe live with them. So I don't give a shit about the show. It all becomes so fucking stupid to you that you don't care. And that's just what Madison that's how she's reacting. And she's no different than everyone else who's ever been on the show.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and I think people were also, it was the ultimatum thing. At the end of the day, I just think it was an ultimatum. And I will say,
totally was.
I don't feel that I know Madison as well as I want to. And I feel that way with most of the women this season. I don't, even with Luke, okay, and people were comparing Madison and Luke. Luke was saying to Hannah, and I don't think they're the same. I think they're very different. But if we're talking just ultimatums, Luke was saying to Hannah, though, I came on this show because I was drawn to you and compelled to come on this show, even though my morals don't really align with the parameters and format of this show. I don't know the reasoning for Madison. And that's a question for me. And I don't know if it's wound up on the editing room floor.
Why she decided to even come?
I've never heard her say, I fell in love with you watching Hannah's season. I know you're the 4 windmill guy and that's not my life, but I'm overpowered by it. So that's a question I have.
She came to be on, every person who goes on the show goes for the experience, whether that's Instagram followers now, they just go for the show. No, again, when you know what you signed up for, we're not no. The producer doesn't be like, do you know exactly what you're supposed to do? Do you know that? No, they're just like, do you want to come on? Are you open to this? Just be. That's it. Like, there's not this like. Like
I know. I
there's
think
not like we have to swear in blood that we have to be okay with the process. Right. It's like you say yes to a neat experience. That's it.
Yeah. Well, when she was saying, look, I've had to look away. I don't like a guy kissing other women. I was just thinking, but babe, that happens from night one on. And maybe she just sort of meant it affected her more than she thought it would. Maybe that was what she was saying. And when she said to Peter, I don't want to be whatever the word was, criticized for my beliefs or something. I didn't think Peter was criticizing her. So it was a lot of gray area. Communication has been a struggle, and I've even had a hard time totally understanding where people are coming from when I'm watching these conversations.
Yeah, I actually thought as much as they could, Peter and Madison handled themselves well in that moment. And I agree with you. Like, Peter wasn't criticizing her. I think she was just more speaking in general.
She was trying to explain
about like her points of view and the fact that she has a hard time watching Peter kiss women. Again, every single person in her shoes, every season before her, has felt that way.
Yeah.
Every single, and we're only talking about this because the show decided to make this about sex. That's it. If it was relevant in other seasons, they would talk about it. And if the lead every season admitted that they had sex with someone else, these outcomes might go very chaos.
Well, and it's been so confusing too, because we got so little Madison for so long, and then all of us, you know what I mean? She was barely in episodes.
Well, she's very measured and very safe, and, but now, and that's why I liked it. I felt like I got to know Madison more than any other moment.
But look, ultimatums aside, she came back.
She did come back. And now I'm going to pivot to criticize Madison.
She kind of was giving him a little bit of grief, though.
Now I'm going to pivot to criticize Madison. It's like, you know what, Madison? You spoke your you spoke how you felt, your piece, whatever, but if you want to stick around now, like, shut up.
He came back.
And like, just don't be the person. Like, we again, relationships, we do this. Like, if you get cheated on or someone wrongs, you'd be like, you just hang it over their head the whole time. It's like, now you need to decide whether you can accept this or move on. Like, don't stick around and like just shame Peter with every look you give him, because that's just like, ugh.
Wanted to kill him.
Yeah.
Have we ever seen a lead offer a rose, have someone say yes, and then the response go, "Are you sure?"
Are you sure? And then the heartbeat in the mic.
Oh, that was.
I think
Could you imagine being Hannah Ann in that moment? Fuck.
Poor Hannah Ann. She just started crying. That poor girl. She's cried at moments when I didn't expect her to cry. I think she's just so like, dear Lord, help me.
Because like Hannah Ann is just like, I'm she's like, no, because she is. She. I've said this all along. I think she's. People criticize Hannah Ann for not being smart because she's a model and pretty, and she doesn't. And again, I'm not saying she's Albert Einstein, but I think she's a sharp little cookie, and I think she thinks about what she needs to say, and she's figured Peter out, and she's just like, I'm just sucking it up, and I'm just doing what I fucking have to do, and I want the fucking credit, man.
Peter, I'm here to validate you. I'm here to reassure.
Yeah. And it's just like, she's just watching Peter and Madison just having like this, acting like she's not even there.
I think that scene was so concise. I think I've memorized the exchange. I think it was,
do it for us.
Madison, will you accept this rose? Silence. Yeah, silence. Are you sure?
Because I did some shit.
What? I was overwhelmed by this. It was great television. I mean, I said things were literally falling apart. At one point, the wind blew the petals off the rose. Like, things are falling apart. But how did you feel? I really want your opinion, Nick, on, okay, she gave the ultimatum and then she came back. Like, what does that say?
That is confusing because, I understand the moment, but I'm curious, and we don't know. We assume that when Madison left that dinner table, that was the first time they've seen each other since. So I assume that to be true. It makes no sense they wouldn't talk it out in the fantasy suite. Like, that of all the times, just like, yeah, clearly you're not going to have sex, but go behind camera and be like, what the fuck? Like, like whatever, like, and they didn't have that, I assume. So that's very awkward that Peter is operating with like the night in which you really try to have some like real conversations, be like, by the way, what is your favorite color? Because we don't talk about that on these dates. Like,
I do think that
what is your favorite food?
I think with both Peter and Madison and Peter and Victoria F, he has held on to very initial connections. And how well does he really know either of them? I'm not saying there isn't good stuff there, but how developed is the relationship really? I would maybe say that Hannah Ann and him have the most developed relationship at this point.
Totally. No, again, and this is where Peter's immaturity comes out in that I've been there, Matt, he fucked up, quote unquote, in his eyes. Madison has made Peter feel like he's fucked up. And that's where I don't agree with Madison, right? She's now she's kind of shaming him with this like attitude and behavior post. Like I'm team Madison up into like showing how she's feeling. And now I'm like, all right, Madison, like lock it up. Like now you're shaming him and that's not necessarily okay. And so Peter is thinking, I'm going to like if I relate to Peter right now in this moment because I'm just like, I'll fix this. I fucked up. I'll fix this. Like put this on me. And we've all been there. And I know what Peter's thinking in this moment. So yeah, he's making decisions based on all the wrong information and all the wrong reasons, if you will, trying to like be the romantic that he's always believed he can be.
We're at such an interesting place right now because I feel like, and Chris has been saying in some of the interviews he's done, like across the board, it's almost like the season is like you could jump in right now, I feel like, and have not seen a lot of the season and just be watching. Okay, now we're down to these, and everything is happening. Yeah, I mean, everything is about to happen. I think Peter's parents coming in now are going to like play a huge factor in everything. Yeah. And was so interested in the teaser when we saw they seem to have issues with both Hannah Ann and Madison. I don't know. I mean, who's Barb crying about?
If I said what I said, I think Hannah Ann's going to win. But if I were watching this and the show didn't end in November and seemingly what Peter said about no one's able to spoil it and Chris teasing, like Peter doesn't even know how this ends yet.
Right.
What does that mean?
It would make me, like my only explanation, and I don't think this is the case because it's been so long that we would see it, that Peter got someone pregnant. Like it would almost, it reads as if, I literally was like watching it thinking, well, shit, if he had sex with Hannah Ann, the first fantasy suite, are there enough days to go by for her to like think she's pregnant, take a pregnancy test? I don't think that's possible in a week and a half. I mean, you guys, the women are the experts here.
No, I don't think a weekend.
Yeah.
No.
So like, I'm like, because that all
I love that you think that it could be in a week.
I don't, but I was just like, is this possible? Because that would make sense. Like all of a sudden, like he's going to pick Madison. He's like, fuck it, I'm going to pick Madison. Hannah's like, dude, I'm pregnant. And he's just like, I'm so sorry to Madison, but I got to go do this like dad thing. Like.
Well, if I'm just doing a different type of math, which is interview math. Okay, so I've talked to Chris. I've done a phoner with Rob Mills about it, interviewed Peter, right? Where I just interviewed him at the tell-all. And yeah, Chris says in the tell-all, even our Bachelor doesn't know how his season ends. Yeah. And then I asked Peter about that. And of course, Peter doesn't really know what to say. He's like, well, maybe I don't. I'm like, well, do you or don't? He's like, I don't know. He's just teasing it. But don't you think that must mean? So when I interviewed Rob Mills, he said, well, look, what we've really found on this show is that the live finale is where so much happens. You look at Hannah's season when we learn more about what happened.
Show's still going on.
Show's still going.
About this,
so doesn't that just something must still be going on?
Maybe it's all a big tease, but I don't know. I was texting with one of the very important producers, and I was just like, I would love to have.
Was it Chris Harris?
No.
Are you guys texting a lot?
Jealous.
It wasn't Chris. And they don't tell me anything. Like I'm not like read in. They don't like I'm an outsider,
right.
I'm part of the press, if you will, with the podcast. But I still have relationships with them. And I was like, hey, I would love to have the runner up on this podcast as soon as possible. And they're like, well, we don't know who that is yet, kind of thing. And I honestly think they were just fucking with me. But the theme of like, you got to watch the live show because this is when it's all going to happen. And that might be true.
Well, and with a season like this where Peter's quote unquote front runner has seemed borderline impossible to discern episode to episode, it wouldn't surprise me if there was still a lot to figure out. And we still don't know what this big reveal he gets in the end, like the thing that makes him almost pass out. So what is that? How much did that change the game literally at the end? I don't know.
They have me believing that we really need to watch this live show because we really don't.
100%.
Yeah. And I'm here for it.
Yeah. Well, and again, like even Ari's season. Okay, he picked one woman, and then then that ending with Beck. I don't know. Anything can happen. So I am on the edge of my seat.
Do you really not know, Lauren?
I really don't know.
Really?
Well, I've said this before. Look, here's the honest truth. Before Chris and I started dating, I've always been a member of the press covering the show. So we do things like Entertainment Tonight and other outlets, we cover dates. That's where I first met Nick, interviewing him at his photo shoot or at his date. And we agree to not reveal some of that stuff. So I've always known a little bit more because we're covering it. But then also, I don't want to know the end because I enjoy the show.
This has been my favorite, covering it is because I don't know.
I want to watch it.
And I get spoiled not trying to be spoiled, and this has been a ton of fun.
Right.
I'm authentically spitballing with you two, trying to figure it out because I have no fucking clue.
I want to watch it. I want to be able to ask the questions that fans want to know the answers to, so I want to be in the moment. And again, it wouldn't surprise me either if for everything that seems to be happening, because I've interviewed Peter at all these different points during the season, before, right after it ended, a little bit after it ended. And he said some things the same, but his tone's also changed, whatever. I'm just for all we know, whatever it is yesterday could be different today. The finale's next week and it's live, so I don't know.
No, and the fact when Peter was just no one's gonna spoil it, I was like, all right, buddy, calm down, you rookie.
Right, okay. You're listen, I've been on the show a couple of times.
He showed us. Well, let's finally get to the tell-all.
Okay, sure. By the way, didn't you feel... Well, I felt like I loved, and they've done this before, but I loved that these bits of the actual show were mixed in with the tell-all, because after this season, after every woman took a villainous turn, I got to be honest, this was not the tell-all I've been looking forward to the most.
My favorite moment of the tell-all was when they introduced the women, because every season you have a handful of fan favorites, and they'll go through
and they'll get cheers and
then the last three, there's some real big ones.
Not this time.
Nothing. It was all just, yeah.
I know.
No one got any real cheers. Listen, it was a tell-all. I think for me, some of the winners were Kelly. I'm sorry, Kelly. Kelly wasn't there.
was not there.
Kelly was
also,
not there.
probably a winner. Do you have any dirt on why Kelly wasn't there?
No, all that I've seen is I know she was just DMing tons of people who were asking her, why weren't you there? And Kelly was saying, I'm not invited. Yeah. I don't know. We were asking there and we were not.
I am curious. I was disappointed. It's clearly wasn't an accident. She was clearly not invited for whatever. There was a reason. I don't know why. I don't know. Alea. I was meant to Alea. Alea's for me. I thought Alea was a winner.
You meant to say Kelsey because you
Kelsey
accidentally said Kelly instead of Alea.
I think Kelly.
Not even close.
Well, here are my winners. My winners were Peter, because I thought Peter handled himself well. He's listen,
he owned it.
I'm with criticism, but he's also again, he is trying to find love. That's it's not supposed to be clean. It is messy. I thought Kelsey was a winner. She showed self-awareness and listen, and she defended herself.
Mm-hmm.
Alea, once again, was a winner with people attacking her for what,
Well, you and I think, were in a small boat of people who, from those episodes, were why is everyone coming after this woman? What has she really done
big
wrong?
Loser for me was once again Sydney. It was just when she was just I don't know, there's something about this girl. I was are you going to shame her in an alley?
What does that mean? I know.
It was just the guy, in, when guys didn't like me and Caitlin season, my guy intuition says he's a, fuck you. And then here's Alea, and I love it when people go on tell and say I'm this annoying in real life. It was just a very
all that I'm looking
for her for saying that.
Yes,
yeah.
All that I'm looking for to tell all truly is for people to own their stuff, own what you did, own who you are, and then if necessary, apologize for it and be able to laugh at yourself a little bit. It's a reality show at the end of the day, guys. And I felt that some people were able to do that. Some people were not.
Tammy.
I think Tammy should have owned some of her stuff more.
Tammy was a loser.
I'm really, and what's weird is when I interviewed her, I really liked Tammy in the interviewer.
Everyone likes her.
Super cool.
Yeah, but I never thought it was okay that she
doubled down and was just ugh.
And for you to say that somebody has alcoholic tendencies, and she was so adamant. Well, I didn't say she's an alcoholic. It's pretty much the same thing. And this is on a national television show, and you really don't know this person, and that's a major accusation to make. And I'm not okay with that. And it's hard because again, I interviewed Tammy after. She's very enjoyable in person, so I don't know these two Tammys.
She seemed like a cool hang, but yes, she doubled down, and it was kind of weird.
Biggest winner for me,
Victoria F.
Victoria freaking F.
Yeah.
I was sitting there, and so we're in the press room at the taping, right? And we're just watching it happen. And I got to give a shout out to Chris Harrison, because he was saying everything that I think was on all of our minds and asking her all the questions I wanted, and just sitting there and saying, where was this woman? And I don't know what happened in between the season and now.
One, she probably had 5 months to think
reflect.
about it, to watch it, prepare to assume some of the questions she might get asked. I mean, people have given me some shit for playing devil's advocate. I've criticized Victoria F on the show, but I say she's hot once in the beginning of the season. Everyone's like, oh, Nick's gonna not burying her. I don't want to bury all these people. She's been beaten up real bad, and some things very justifiable. She's been involved in a lot of shit, so she deserves some criticism, but I don't think crucifying anyone on the show.
Well, they're all people, and that's a significant difference to me too, and they talked about it in this episode, and I know we'll get into it, but I never sit here and call someone the B word. I never say I hate somebody. I don't feel those things. I'm gonna say my thoughts on your behavior on the show, and what's been hard about this season is even Victoria F, she really, what's frustrated me the most about her is her communication and just be better in that. Terrible. But she's not been evil to anybody.
And every step of the way on this season, again, it's not an excuse because it is frustrating. I've been in relationships where it's just they go totally insane and then apologize afterwards. Thanks for apologizing, but
the damage was.
This is fucking getting old, right? And so that's still toxic, right? When she was out there, it's just she was laughing herself. She apologized to Peter.
Yep.
She didn't make any excuses.
Nope.
She didn't totally explain the accusations for the breaking up marriages, but at the same time, what can she say that people aren't you either believe her or you don't? Well, I don't think she was going to change anyone's mind in that moment.
I had a problem with that woman who came on because to me,
yes,
her bio says public figure.
Oh Lord,
the pictures with the roses and her family.
Oh, I didn't even see. I didn't even Instagram.
She went to Us Week. It was her press tour, and I'm sorry. I've said this when we had Tayshia on, and I'm always very critical of the ex who
is coming in having
goes to goes to the press.
Well,
whatever.
Jed's
and
girlfriend was a different story.
That's totally
she
different.
Was
I'm fucking dating.
I thought
this
we were
guy.
dating.
Yeah.
But this woman, first of all, you're not even the woman who she allegedly broke a relationship up from. So we're already talking third party, second party, whatever. And you got to bring some receipts if you're going to make an accusation that big. What do you mean she broke up relationships? That's a lot of gray area to me. I don't know. Was the relationship already in trouble? Did she even know that? We know so few details.
I've heard from some producers that for what it's worth, they believe her. And it was
believe who?
Victoria F.
Victoria F. Okay.
And it was, again, to your point of gray area, it was this person was getting a divorce. And the classic case of I'm dating a divorced guy. He's not officially divorced. He's separated. And it's okay. It was
just
something
also
like that.
to me.
So who knows? But she didn't explain herself very well. But at the same time, what was she addressing? What was she going to say?
Yeah.
It was also interesting too, because it seemed very clear while Chris asked her some tough questions, they gave her an opportunity to redeem herself. And I think that's very important when you watch it, because again, like Claire, or even with me or other cast members, some of us take a fucking beating sometimes. Sometimes, and again, Victoria F., this is who she is. She deserved this. But that doesn't mean we have a way of leaning in. Again, the Hannah Brown could have been criticized, and she was, but they have a way too of being trying to make good on you. And they gave her a platform to try to redeem herself. And I think that's not to be missed. And I think it means that the producers like her as a person for whatever it's worth. I don't know if, that doesn't mean she's a saint, but and sometimes producers would be like, I don't fucking like this person. And they even, a lot of people who look good on the show, but they're just and they come out
Well, I mean, it's hard because they're making a show, right? And the show is how many minutes out of all the hours they film. So really, I know they know these people probably, obviously way better than we do.
Sometimes the producers working on the ground, so to speak, aren't in control of how things are shown, right?
How the edit comes
they
out,
might be that fucker looks good, but he's a terrible human being. That happens a lot.
I have heard that before. I've heard before that people that they because of the narrative of the show, they might come across looking better than they actually are, or because of how they're on camera versus how they're off camera. But I think at the end of the day, again, the tell all to me is, are you owning it, saying sorry if needed, and laughing at yourself? And Victoria checked all those boxes.
Except why didn't they address the White Lives Matter stuff?
I don't know. I mean, I know that she had addressed it on her social media.
She did. And a lot of people were, and rightfully so, a lot of people were critical of the timing. And a lot of people were critical of her sincerity. And I think that's fair to criticize her. I guess my takeaway was, listen, people who apologize for things they don't mean, have a tendency of being repeat offenders. So let's see. You know, it's kind of like she said the right things. I don't know. Like it was totally wrong. It was not okay for her to be a part of that.
No.
And she said she was like, you know, and it's like, okay. And why the show didn't, my guess is I think that everyone wants to move on.
Yeah. I mean, and maybe
right or
it was
wrong.
just,
I don't know. I understand that maybe it's not the right call.
Yeah. Or like, what else would she say? Because I know she apologized for it on her social media. And again, it was like when I interviewed Peter about that, he was like, well, I don't know if she really meant it. I'm like, but it's still happy. You know, you still got to address it.
You had to address it.
Yeah.
And it's very sensitive, and I understand if her apology wasn't okay for some people. I
have no idea. Maybe it's interesting that happened in an episode where also they did this segment, you know, with Rachel. So the Rachel Lindsay, I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, so let's just touch on that. I'm glad they did that. I'm glad they did that segment with Rachel. I think Rachel was the perfect person to have because as we saw with some of these tweets, and you were there were a lot more and some even more graphic, and some of them did touch on people's race and personal things about them that they can't change. Not that makes it more like, if you tell someone to kill themselves, and even if they're not a person of color, it doesn't make it less
it's
wrong.
Horrible.
But it's really sad.
I was glad that they touched on it and took a stand on it. I think they handled it in all the right ways, as you said, with bringing Rachel in, with really showing people the true disgust of what some of this is. And I just think we're all human beings here. Everybody should know the difference between I'm giving my thoughts on this fun, crazy reality show. And yeah, sometimes I'm critiquing people and we're getting in a dialogue versus I'm saying something hateful and villainous and part of it is to do with something you can't control at all, or part of it is something where I'm telling you to harm you. Like everybody knows that line.
Exactly.
We all know that line.
And I actually loved that your lover, Chris, pointed out. He said, like, I'm not talking, when he asked the women, I'm not talking about criticism. I'm talking about hate, because there is a difference. Like, you're going to get criticized if you go on the show. We criticize people.
Of course.
That's different. Like, I don't like it when, and I've seen memes out there, other podcasts. It's just like, whether it's Victoria or Victoria P or even Sydney, who we've been critical of. It's just like, just because you see something on the show doesn't mean you Google something and say, look, they're a narcissist. It's like, no, you don't fucking know. Like, people are just like,
I know.
You know, we're not medical professionals diagnosing these behaviors. You're not a serial killer. You know, there's, like some of these women demonstrated toxic behavior, and we can criticize them for that. Like Victoria F demonstrated toxic behavior in a relationship. I don't know if that's how she is in real relationships, but that's what she showed to Peter, and that's fair game to criticize.
Right, but I'm not going to give her a mental diagnosis from this reality show that I'm watching her on, and I'm not a professional, and I'm not going to tell her to harm herself. Like, and everybody again should know these lines. It feels so obvious to me, but people deal with horrible stuff like that, and it is like the one dark side of the show, and I was glad that they addressed it.
I don't think our listeners are.
I do wish they had acknowledged that they hadn't necessarily treated each other with kindness on the
Good point.
Instead of just being so victim.
Yeah, I totally agree with you, Rochelle. There was no self-awareness by the collective group, which is par for the course.
I don't think we had much resolution in this tell-all, and I was a little bit disappointed in it. Again, I think Victoria F was solid in the hot seat. I think that other women had moments of demonstrating self-awareness, but many of them didn't, and many of them didn't come to resolutions on stuff that feels obvious to me, and I did not walk away feeling like there was as much growth as I would have.
Totally. And I get why Sydney spoke up, because one of those tweets seemed to be a direct attack at her, and obviously I can't imagine what that would be like for Sydney. It read awkward afterwards when she was talking about wanting to be a role model, which I think is great for her to want to do. But I think there's some other behavior that she demonstrated that it would have been good to acknowledge if she's like, you know what, I look back and like she doubled down on Alea as opposed to saying, you know what, I didn't know you. I made an assumption off of something and based off of maybe on my own insecurities. And I felt like maybe I picked on you for really no reason other than like you were different than me. And she didn't say that. And she should have said that because regardless of who she is, she's not immune to like being a bully to anyone else either.
No, I wish that there would have been hey, we're going to go and have a coffee after this and talk more or something. Like it didn't feel and I mean the yelling, the talking over each other. I mean,
It's like a Real Housewives reunion.
Chris is
It's
such a pro
always
there.
bad.
He always just
I
lets
know.
him do it at first.
And then what I love is he kind of subtly invokes, look, if you want to be on TV, this is how you do it, because he says, ladies, if we want to, we need to be able to use this and we can't because you're screaming over each other. And it does happen at every tell, but it was really bad at this one, really bad.
And he let it go on a little bit
Yeah.
longer, I think, and probably he knew that I needed to emphasize a point here that this is just a collective bunch of chaos.
It's just, it is this basic thing of, you guys, if you don't listen to other people, why do you expect to be listened to? And many women on that stage, I don't think understood that. They want to be listened to, but they don't want to listen to other people. And it was rough. I took 4 Advil.
Oh my gosh.
Well,
But that being said, I mean, again, they're all human beings. I think that I want to see many of these women on Paradise still.
100%.
I wish that McKenna had licked her lips one more time. I missed that moment.
I was really, McKenna was a loser for me too. It was just like, again, no self-awareness.
Yeah. Found my damn voice. She didn't even like make fun of it.
She tried to, and she actually tried to do more of that. How dare, oh fuck, shut up.
Do you think she was licking her lips just to be a meme?
No. No, I think she was probably, and I'm not, no, never mind.
Do you still remember
She
her
just had cotton
speech,
mouth, is what
Lauren?
she had.
What?
Do you still remember her speech?
Oh, you are strong, and you are. No, I lost it. I memorized it real
I
quick.
saw those.
I recreated it from my Instagram. I do it every morning now. I forgot it now.
Lauren, thanks so much for coming.
Thank you.
I couldn't imagine having a better person to help me recap this episode.
Oh, Nicholas.
It was a lot of fun. Best of luck. Congrats on all your success with everything you're doing over at Entertainment Tonight. And
Can I say, if you guys don't know about it, I do this Bachelor recap show, Roses and Rose.
Rose.
Thank you, girl. That theme song life. So I'm on Instagram at Lauren Zima, and please go check out Roses and Rose. And
So funny.
thank you. And Nick and I have said a lot of things today, so I guess we're going to be getting some tweets and DMs, but keep it critical and not hateful, everybody.
why do you hate Tasha? I don't.
Like, why are you throwing Madison under the bus? I'm not. I'm just questioning her appearance or not her appearance, but questioning her position on the show. We're having a dialogue.
Well, don't forget, guys, to sending your reviews, sending your questions. And again, for those of you listening, we love you tuning in for the Bachelor recaps. We are doing some great things on Mondays and Wednesdays. If you are a true Viall High Club member, it's a new name.
Oh, I love.
You like that, right?
I support puns so much.
Yeah, check us out. I think you'll be pleasantly surprised. Lauren, this is our 101 episode.
Congratulations.
Yeah. So make sure to check us out on Mondays Ask Nick. We do a lot of relationship advice with people calling in, sharing their stories, and we have some amazing interviews for you on Wednesdays. Tomorrow, Rochelle, who do we have again? We have our...
On Wednesday, you mean?
The Lady Gang. Lady Gang. Oh, great.
Oh, my girl, Kelty Knight?
Yeah, they were fun.
Another Entertainment Tonight correspondent.
Yeah.
What about do you do a segment called Viall Smiles where you talk about positive stories?
God, no, that is not on brand.
Brand.
Not at all.
I'll do
The Viall Trials where you decide if someone's
Yes.
right or wrong.
There
I'm
we-
just coming up
Ooh.
with puns now.
Great. You'll have to come back for an Ask Nick episode.
Oh, yes, I will.
You do you do complete the cycle.
Viall Trials. Let's go.
All right, Lauren, thanks so much for coming on.
Thank
And
you. Thank
we
you
will
both.
see you all tomorrow.
Bye.